at the swamp kind of position, which is between 1 to 3 million a year, as Hormozy and others will say. Some call it 2 to 4 million a year. People call it 1 to 3 million a year. Some say up to 5 million a year. The swamp has some certain infrastructures, and there's certain infrastructures that most people, when they follow it over a certain period of time, can also build their own 7-figure per year company or multi-7-figure per year company with these infrastructures. And these infrastructures were not things that I learned straight away. You see, for the first 3 to 4 years, if we're excusing COVID, I was largely stuck between the 10 to 30K a month range, from pretty much 19 to about 23. And then at 23, I figured out how to start building the infrastructure that took me to the 100K plus per month. And being in Australia, there are certain things that you have to do slightly differently, truly, compared to other companies that are in the UAE or are in the US or in Europe. You're competing in a smaller marketplace, which is one advantageous because if you're very, very good, where you can essentially monopolize certain things, but also you're competing in a smaller market. So you have a smaller TAM, and TAM stands for total addressable market. So you have a smaller TAM of 26 million, 27 million people compared to somewhere like India, which has 1 billion people in its population, and that's just one country. So somewhere like America, you're able to access a wider amount of TAM, which has two, I guess, asymmetric things. Asymmetrically, you're competing against a bigger TAM, so there's more competition, but there's also a bigger TAM. So in America, there's a lot more 100K a month businesses, period, whereas in Australia, only 4 to 5% of businesses across all industries even touch, not even 100K a month, but even 80K a month. Because really, if you guys won't be able to see this while we're doing normal talking today, because really, 83.3K a month is a 7-figure per year business. As long as you're doing 83K a month, you can make $1 million. So 100K a month is really you starting to get really into the middle of the swamp. And our personal goal this year is to get out of the swamp. So we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about ops. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about sales team. And we're going to start with ops. I'm just going to slightly move this. Okay, that's a bit better. Yeah, that's a bit better. So let's talk about operations. So there's multiple functions of SME, small medium business, and businesses of different sizes. But at 100K a month, as someone who's done it, there's a few key things that I can speak to and speak about. So the first thing I'll talk about is, if we're going into two brackets, there's offense and there's defense. So if you think of sports, I'm an ex-basketball player. Offense is, maybe there's like a shooting guard, so he's going to knock that down every time. If you pass him into the wing, he's a corner specialist, or he's off the dribble and he's going to hit it. And then there's a point guard. And the point guard is running the play. The point guard in my situation is my operations manager. So I'm going to put the point guard or the ops manager essentially as an offensive player. So ops manager, okay? Ops manager. So ops managers, and I know many of you can't see that, which is unfortunate, so I'm just using my words. An ops manager is the person that's going to help coordinate things, okay? They're going to help make sure that certain SOPs are neatly done. If you don't know what an SOP is, an SOP stands for a standard operating procedure. So it's like if you go work at McDonald's and you're like, hey, if you want to serve fries, you have to get the cold batch of potato fries defrosted. And then once you defrost them in the microwave, then you put them in the oil. And once it's out of the oil, you take it out like this so it doesn't hurt you with gloves. And then you put them in the small packets and you only do a certain proportion and then you serve them to someone else, okay? So SOPs, the operations manager can create that for both the offensive side, and here's the slight difference between this and sports, but the ops manager will also create it for the defensive side. Again, it's really unfortunate you guys can't see that, but we're going to put ops manager here as well, ops manager. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying for a lot of you guys that are doing under 100K a month that you need an ops manager straight away. I'm just saying that an ops manager is going to be the person that's going to create the systems and the flow for new hires that are either playing offense and defense. What's up, Ayla? Doing any other videos soon. So we do a video once every Friday, and every Friday we alternate. Every 2 weeks it's marketing, sales related, where I go over things like this. And then every other Friday, I'm talking about personal experience and doing Q&As, answering questions about anything. But today we're talking about running at least 100K a month company and above with our own experience. So ops manager, offense and defense. Now, what you're gonna need to get the velocity of sales. What's up, Mila? How you doing? The velocity of sales up there is you're gonna need a sales team, okay? And that obviously goes under offense. So you're gonna need a sales team. And within that sales team, what we like to have is a head. I'm just gonna write head, HS, but head of sales. So they're the ones that will like manage the closes or be, usually they're gonna be at least in my situation, they're the best closer, apart from the founder. And they're the people that manages the other closers. So currently, we have one head of sales and he manages another, say, 5 closers. Some closers are junior closers that are newly promoted from appointment setting. Some of the closers are, just specialists at closing deals, or they are cross-functional team members that are on the defensive side that are also able to play offense. So again, if we use basketball terms, you're going to Kawhi Leonard, he's going to put a hand on your face, he's going to lock you up, but also he can give you 20 or 30 points. Like he's a two-way guard. You see, some closers, especially when you have a company that's been around for 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to have enough understanding of certain personnel to understand other strengths that they might have that are cross-functional. So anyway, our head closer, he manages 5 closers. Under that, you got, in our situation, what most people would call an SDR, team lead. An SDR, so an SDR stands for a sales development representative, and a lot of corporate tech companies, or just corporate companies in general, a lot of them are very familiar with what an SDR is. So a sales development representative, this is someone that goes out there and just generates opportunities for the closers or the AEs, the account executives, to close. So when I was working in tech sales in 2021, I was an SDR. And I was an SDR for the automotive space. So I was cold calling Mazda, Toyota, Subaru, whatever. And I was booking them for account executives to try and close, okay? So what happens is you have an SDR team leader. And for us, we're always hiring for SDRs or appointment setters. So if you're really, really good at sales and you want an environment where you can potentially make 6 figures a year by climbing the ranks, then come try and work for us. Like, I'm not saying you'll get hired because our sales culture is freaking elite. Right? Like a couple of days earlier this week, we did like 32 appointments in a day with like a team of like 6 or 7 setters, which actually we could have done more. We just didn't hit the target, but 32 is still great. So this SDR team leader, again, he's usually the best setter, or he's just the manager of the setters and he's a history in setting. And he manages, for us, about, we have a biggish team, 7-ish setters. And this is varying. So this is again the inside of our 7-figure, like 100K plus per month company, okay? So you got 5 closers, 7 setters. Now, if a setter averages, say, just 3 appointments a day, that's 21 sets. Out of those 21 sets, maybe, 14 of them, say 70%-ish, are going to attend or be there for the demo. Out of the 70%, now maybe 20, 25%, 30% of them will close. So out of 14 demos, perhaps that's, say, on the conservative end, ultra conservative end, 3 new clients. So those 3 new clients, but those 14 demos, each are spread with the account executives. So for example, my head of sales, he's going to take majority of the demos. Me and him usually just go tit for tat each day, closing a deal. Nearly every day, me or him are closing deals. Sometimes it's 3 deals in a day, and we hate it when this happens, but like this week we had 2 days we had no new deals. But we still had like 3 or 5 new clients this week, which is actually a bit slower because last week we had like 10 clients in a week. End of the month, we'll probably have another 10 or 12 or 15 clients in that 1 week.